A weekly planner is a great tool for moms to manage busy family life, but you could be making one of these 3 planner mistakes that plague us all. Hi, I'm Mystie Winckler, and you've found Simply Convivial. Convivial means enjoying life together, and that's the kind of hospitable atmosphere that we want to create as moms and homemakers. Our planners can be a tool to help us achieve that hospitable atmosphere by reducing our stress and helping us manage all the details without feeling overwhelmed. So it's worth the time that it takes to figure out how to use a planner and how to find a planner that will work for you without making mistakes about the way that you are using it. Let's talk about 3 mistakes you might be making right now. Grab a basket of laundry to fold and let's dig in. So the first mistake that you might be making when you are creating a weekly spread, a weekly plan for yourself, is that you're confusing planning and managing life with including every single little thing. If you feel like every thing that you are doing has to be in your weekly plan, written down ahead of time, then you're going to spend too much time writing things down, and you're going to have a harder time using your planner because the space will be too full. There will be so much written down that it's hard to use by looking at it at a glance. The more text that is on your planner, the more time it takes to look at it. Now, sometimes that can be worth it. And we're going to talk about seasons where it might be worth it to have more words on your paper in the next episode. But consider if you have lots of text or big blocks of text or no white space at all on your planner, then it's not visually appealing. And so you're not going to be drawn to look at it. It's going to feel like work to look at your planner. And so you'll tend to avoid it, and just looking at it at a glance will not inform you of what you should choose next, because it takes time to read the words and think about them and consider which are applicable right now before you can move on and take action from what your planner says. So if you're trying to have an all-in-one planner where, say, your homeschool plan and your menu plan and your life plan and your cleaning routine and everything is all on your weekly spread, then probably it's going to become too cluttered to be useful. When you make your weekly plan, you don't have to predict ahead of time every single thing that you're going to be doing or everything you need ahead of time to have a useful plan. Sometimes we spend too much time planning, too much time writing things down in the planner because we think that planning is about predicting the future or maybe choosing how we want the future to unfold. And if your plans haven't worked, then you might conclude you're a bad planner only because you're a bad predictor of the future, which we all are actually, and you're not really planning at all. Planning is thinking ahead and giving some notes to self that will help you make better decisions in the moment. So you don't have to write everything you're going to be doing down ahead of time. And you also don't have to write the exact same things down every day. For example, I actually don't have every single day's menu plan written on my weekly planner. I only write it down on days where it matters, where it's going to influence something else in the day. It's something that's going to take a little bit more time, so I need a note to self to start earlier, or I'm taking a meal to someone, so I have to make a particular thing and make sure that I have the ingredients and get started so I can drop it off on time. When there are considerations to the day's meal, then I write it down. If it's just a family dinner, then because of the way things are at our household right now, I have options and I'll pick an option on just a normal day. And so the written down plan tells me when the dinner plan is important, which isn't every day because at this point we're in the rhythm of having dinner at the same time as a family. And because our family is shrinking instead of growing, it's currently easy to pull together enough food for our family. It takes less time than it used to, and so it takes less time to think about and prepare. And all of those years of skill building for family meals are now paying off where I can pretty much wing it. Not all the time, but a few times a week. I can wing it in between those times where what I make for dinner really matters. And really, I have to have a few days of winging it so that we eat the leftovers of a certain day. And sometimes that makes it on the plan. I might notice while I'm making my weekly plan that we have a buildup of leftovers. So I will intentionally write down, this is going to be a leftovers day, because it's important that we eat that food rather than I just decide to make something that sounds better. So you want your planner to have the notes that are useful for you. And that will take time to figure out. That will take practice. And it will change as your seasons of life change as well. But we're going to talk more about that in the next episode. The second mistake that you might be making when it comes to your weekly planner is making lists that are too long or too vague. So if your weekly planner consists primarily of a really long to-do list full of undifferentiated tasks, then it's not going to be very useful in the moment because there's too many things on that long list to figure out at a glance what to do next. They aren't categorized or blocked together. Maybe there are just too many of them. Maybe there's wishful thinking mixed in with actual urgent items. And so it takes time and attention and energy to figure out from this list what actually matters today or right now. Your planner should be thinking done ahead of time. And the point of a good plan is that it reduces the amount of time that you'll be thinking in the moment. So you do the thinking work ahead of time in a block. Then you write things down so that you remember, so that you give yourself reminders and notes. And then in the moment, you're working off of your previous thinking. So your plan isn't, here's a whole bunch of stuff to think about and consider. You're going to avoid that in the moment. You're just going to do whatever comes to hand, whatever seems like the right thing based on how you're feeling in the moment, instead of based on the thinking that you did ahead of time. So super long, jumbled up, undifferentiated task lists are not helpful on your weekly plan. There's a place for long lists, and it's not on your weekly plan. We call it a running list inside Convivial Circle. We have a whole module on creating a running list, either on paper or in an app. And we do need to have those random things written down somewhere, but they really don't belong on your weekly list unless you have selected it as something that you definitely have to do this week. Now, another problem with task lists on our weekly planner or even in the running list or anywhere we write task lists for ourselves is that we make those list items too vague. Maybe it's just a noun on your list, like dinner. Dinner is a noun. I'm also a grammar teacher, so I can help you with this. Nouns aren't tasks. They're just things. And so then when you see a noun on your list, you have to rethink what it was that you had to do with dinner, what it was that you have to go to the grocery store for. It just says grocery store. What's it mean? You know what it means in the moment, and when you're writing it down, you think it's obvious, you think you'll remember, but the whole point of writing it down is to reduce the amount of thinking in the future. Do the thinking up front, then work off the thinking later, but don't redo it. So you don't want your to-do lists, anywhere you keep them, to be vague. What you want is for every task list to tell you what to do. And that means it needs to start with a verb. See, grammar is important. The thing that you need to do. So you would have cook dinner. Then you have the verb and the direct object, the thing to do and the action you're going to take and the thing that's going to result. It could have not mail, but take mail to the post office. That's even better. It's not just take mail or send mail, but this is an errand. So you have the verb, the action that you need to take. Take what? The mail. Where? To the post office. Those are the best kind of tasks, and we should try to make all of our tasks written in that verb, object, prepositional phrase form, so that when we look at the task, we know what we meant when we wrote it down. We know whether or not we did it. And we know what exactly it is we should be doing next with less thinking. All right, the third mistake that you might be making in using your weekly plan is to spend an hour or more putting together the perfect, complete, thorough plan. Maybe you even color-coded things or added stickers. And then what do? What do we all do sometimes? We forget to look at the plan that we made. And yes, there is an element where just the act of writing it down is helpful, and that does exercise our thinking and our filters so that we're aware of what we need to be aware of, and we might make better choices in the future because of the time we spent planning, even if we don't look at it. But here's the thing, that's going to be less and less true the older you get. Just to be honest, your brain, after a particular number of pregnancies or sleep-deprived postpartums or other hormonal changes, will not be a steel trap anymore. And so we want to build the habits that will support us all along the way, every season of our life. And we want to not waste that time that we spent planning. We didn't spend the time planning just to do it that once, expecting ourselves to then have it completely internalized and memorized. We actually have a better use, even if our minds are steel traps, our brains and our minds can be used for more important things than holding on to all the details. The plan should hold on to all the details so that then our brain is free to problem solve in the moment, to think about things, to pay attention to people in the moment, to consider ideas and consequences, and to just be free for creative thinking and creative action, because the details, the minutia, are written down and tracked where we can refer to it and work from it. So your written down plan really cannot be and is not useful to you unless you're looking at it multiple times a day, at least in the morning and the afternoon, but really as much as you can in between, you should be referencing your plan and working off of it. The more you look at your plan, the more you reference it and work from what you wrote down, the more effective that plan will be, the better plan you'll make the next week because you're integrating that planning self and your real life. The more you connect them, the better planner you will become through experience. So make the plan, but also invest time and attention and energy into building the habit of looking at your plan regularly. Give yourself some touch points throughout the day, morning, evening, maybe lunchtime. And once you have some anchor points for looking at your plan, just weave in having it around with you where you can look at it. Make sure it's open, make sure it's visible so that you can get something out of it from a glance and that it's available to you at a glance so that a glance is hopeful. That's when your plan is really working for you. So maybe you're not making one of these 3 mistakes. Maybe your planner is not working for you because you are using the wrong kind of weekly spread for the season of life that you are in. That's what we're going to talk about in our next episode.